Today we will talk about a dramatic, romantic and crime film. Its title, Careful What You Wish For. The movie begins with Doc and we see him arriving in a beach town with his mother and father, and Doc loved reading, and we see him amazed at the view of the ocean and sand. Then Doc went to the beach and met his friend, and he told Doc that he was there. There are a lot of women and we can communicate with them. Then they went to the bar. There a man decided to stop the music and start playing his guitar. Then Doc returned home and saw no one there. He went to his room and looked at the pictures. Meanwhile, Doc noticed that a man and his wife had moved in the house next to them, and the girl was amazing to Doc. He tried to get a better look at her, but the girl saw him and tried. He walks away. The girl's name was Lena and her husband's name was Elliot. Then Doc went out on his bike and saw Lena again on the beach. Lena was taking off her shoes, and Doc couldn't take his eyes off her. Then Doc met with his friend and they started talking about girls, and they started drinking. Then Doc came home and saw Elliot. He talks to his family, but Doc's father called Doc and introduced him to Elliot. Elliot said, "I heard that Doc knows a lot about boats, and I hope you will check out my new boat." Elliot tells Duke that I might get you a job as a boat mechanic. I will pay you much better than mowing the grass. The second day, Doc went to check on the boat, and saw Lena returning from the pool and going to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Elliot arrived and asked Doc about the condition of his boat. Doc tells him that the damage is minor. They agreed that the wage would be $12, even though Elliot offered, "Why don't you pay me $20? Then Doc saw from his window Lena changing her clothes. At this moment, Elliot entered her and began forcing himself on her. This is what bothers us. On the second day, Elliot went to the waterfront and was stopped by a strict guard. He asked Elliot for his ID. Meanwhile, Doc arrived and spoke to him about the guard's strictness. While they were standing on the boat, Doc asked Elliot, "How were you able to get everything?" Elliot says to him, "I was able to get it all because of money and good looks." Then Lena's car broke down near the beach. Doc tried to help her and was able to fix her car, but things got awkward. Lena's body became close to Doc's body. Then we see Doc's friend warning Doc not to strengthen his relationship with Elliot. He told him that it was clear that Elliot was not an easy person to mess with. While Doc was returning home, he met Lena. She was sitting at the window of her house and her house was closed. She asked for help, and told him, "Elliot asked me to take care of myself." While it started to rain, Lena urged Doc to break the back window with a stone so he could get in. She invited him to have a drink. While Lena was taking care of Doc's wounds, they had a romantic moment and they kissed each other, and a romantic relationship began between them. Lena asked Doc if he had ever had a relationship with a girl, and Doc joked with her and told her this is the third time. After a few days, Doc started thinking about Lena. He started trying to impress her, and one day Lena visited him during he worked on the boat, and she claimed that her husband sent her to check on him. They ended up kissing and having a romantic relationship again. The next night at the bar, Doc saw Lena with her husband. Doc rejected his friend's suggestions to other girls. Then we see Doc riding his bike and he sees Elliot standing nearby a store with Lena. He quickly went to Lena and they started a relationship in the back of the store. Meanwhile, Elliot arrived and they stopped their relationship for a while, and Elliot decided to check the boat on which Doc worked. He started talking to Doc about the similarity between them, and he said to him, "You work hard and I will get out of town." Doc took advantage of the opportunity and spent time with Lena. She gave him a secret mobile phone to communicate with her, and warned him that Elliot was injured. Paranoid. Then Elliot asked Doc to show the boat he was going to leave on. Elliot narrowly avoided hitting the boat's pole. Suddenly the boat's engine broke down, and Lena was thinking about divorcing Elliot. At night, Lena called Doc and was upset about Elliot's attacks on her. Doc asked her to report it to the police, but Lena refused and they returned home together. A few days later, Doc received a call from Lena and she said goodbye to him, and the matter ended in a romantic relationship. After that, Lena started talking to Duke about Elliot's ex-wife and their ongoing legal dispute. After a while, Duke returned home and discovered that Elliot had returned. He received a call from Lena and asked him for urgent help. Doc quickly went home and discovered that there had been a problem between Lena and Elliot. They had quarreled and Elliot had died as a result of the quarrel. So they decided to deal with the problem and act normally. Then Doc went to work at the bar, and when he returned home he discovered Lena sitting with his mother and father. While he was going to the room, Doc started discussing with Lena ways to deal with a situation that happened as if by chance. But Duke realized that this would not work. So Doc proposed a new plan and took Elliot's body to the boat. He claimed that Elliot left the house, while Doc tries to leave. On the boat, the security guard discovered him and tried to call Mr. Harper pretended that Elliot had left. The second day in the morning, the police investigated and began interrogating us. They suspected that Elliot's insurance fund was in her possession. Doc continued his daily routine normally and served 2 police officers. Meanwhile, a woman arrived in the city and met the police. She said the Los Angeles fund took the issue seriously. Because of Elliot, the woman continued the investigation by interrogating Lena about the incident and possible extramarital affairs. Then the police investigated Doc's father. Meanwhile, Doc asked the guard if he saw Elliot that night. The insurance agent arrived at the crime scene and discovered that the glass window had been broken without prior warning. At night, the agent visited Doc's house and asked them about Lena's visit. Doc was terrified and decided to call Lena, but he cut off the call when his mother and father arrived. At the police station, Doc answered some questions while he investigated. The agent talks about the relationship between Elliot and Lena's mother, and Doc intervenes to protect Lena. Then Doc received a message from Lena and she asked him to meet him at the boat shed. She told him that we should separate for a while. Then Doc returned home and the investigator returned to collect Doc's fingerprints and a mouth swab. During the interrogation, Doc remained silent. He trusted his friends, his mother, and his father about his condition. At the same time, the police found a match in the blood sample. But Duke's efforts to prove his innocence failed. It is possible that Lena tampered with it, because the guard who could have provided evidence was found murdered. So Doc decided to run away, rode his bike, and met Lena. Lena tried to accuse Doc of trying to rape her. Therefore, the police arrested Doc, convinced them to let him go. So Doc quickly went to Lena's house to find her phone and the evidence to prove his innocence. Here it became clear that the agent was Lena's accomplice and was able to tamper with the evidence. Then Lena and the agent left on a plane. Therefore, Doc served his prison sentence and the sentence was reduced. Lena left with her lover, the agent, and left Doc wondering if he would do this again. The film ends with Doc contemplating the past and the consequences of his actions. Doc learned a very important lesson that beautiful appearances are often deceiving and the consequences do not appear until the end when it is too late. He felt remorse for actions that occurred without thinking or awareness, which is dominated by emotion without reason. And here is the end. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more of these films.